Sanchez, a third-year student taking up Bachelor of Science in Technology Communication Management in Mindanao University of Science and Technology. Now, in our class, each of us was assigned a single theory, and I'm very fortunate enough to be assigned with phase negotiation theory. Now, what is phase negotiation theory? I've also asked that same question. Now, for you to know what phase negotiation theory is, here's a simple presentation I have prepared for all of you. Please enjoy!
Within every relationship arises conflict. When such conflict arises, there are different ways to handle it. Stella Ting-Toomey would argue that these differences in resolving, or as some like to call it managing conflict, are based upon the culture in which one was raised. Toomey proposes a theory called the phase negotiation theory. What is phase negotiation theory? This is the theory that deals with the cultural differences within society and how these differences explain certain responses to conflict. The theory aims to explain how different cultures respond to conflict. Now, the person behind this theory is Stella Ting-Toomey. She was born in Hong Kong in 1952 rather. She's a professor of speech communication at California State University, Fullerton, and had been the author and the editor of 17 books. She developed the phase negotiation theory in 1985. What does this theory try to explain? Theory, uh, Phase is the representation of one's identity with regards to social, cultural, and individual norms. This is closely associated with interpersonal communication, cultural communication, politeness, and conflict. Faces are the image of an individual or that of a group that society sees and evaluates based on cultural norms and values. According to Griffin, face has also been described as simply our public self-image, the way we want others to see us and treat us. The phase negotiation theory has four concepts. First is type of culture. So it's either you're individualistic or collectivistic. Second is the type of self-construal. It's either you're independent or interdependent. The third is phase maintenance. So self-phase, other phase, or mutual phase. And lastly, type of conflict management. Now, there are four phases of phase negotiation theory. First is the phase restoration or self-negative phase, which is found on the lower left. This is the need to give oneself freedom and space and to protect self from one other's infringement on one's autonomy. The second is the space saving or the other negative phase, which is on the lower right. This is the need to signal respect for the other person's need for freedom, space, and dissociation. The third is the phase assertion or self-positive phase. This is the need to defend and protect one's need for inclusion and association. And lastly, the phase giving or other positive phase in the need to defend and support the other person's need for inclusion and association. Whenever one encounters a new culture, one of the things that they will notice rather quickly is the emerge of conflict. Now, there are two types of cultures. First is the individualism. This is a culture value that places emphasis on the individual over the group, while the collectivism is a cultural value that places emphasis on the group over the individual. The phase negotiation theory also has the seven core assumptions. So first is that people in all culture try to maintain and negotiate phase in all communication situations. So communication between all cultures involves and depends on maintaining and negotiating phase. Second, the concept of phase is especially problematic in emotionally threatening or identity vulnerable situations when the situated identities on the communicators are called into question. So conflict occurs when face is threatened and identity is questioned. Third, the cultural value spectrums of individualism, collectivism, and small large power distance shape face work concerns and styles. So face management develops differently within specific culture and power distance relationship. Fourth, individualism and collectivism value patterns shape members' preferences for self-oriented face concern versus other-oriented or mutual-oriented face concern. So while for the individualistic culture, people prefer to maintain this negative face, while in collectivist culture, they maintain this positive face. Fifth, small and large power distance patterns shape members' preferences for horizontal-based face work versus vertical-based face work. So, for the high power, they maintain more formal interactions, but for the low power, they maintain these informal interactions. Number 6 is that the value dimensions in conjunction with individual, rational, topical, and situational factors influence the use of particular face work behaviors in particular culture conflict scenes. So, face work are influenced by rational, situational, and individual factors as well as culture differences. And the last is intercultural face work. This is a competence refers to the optimal integration or culture sensitive knowledge, mindfulness, and flexible communication skills in managing vulnerable identity-based conflict situations appropriately, effectively, and adaptively. So, competence of face negotiation requires knowledge and mindfulness. The distinction between collectivistic and individualistic culture is important because culture has a strong effect on individual self-construal. However, the identification of the type of culture is not the deciding factor of a person's construal. It is just a good indication. And when it is decided whether person's self-construal lies on the dependent or the interdependent side, then that becomes a good predictor that the person's conflict style. However, this is not the final step of Toomey's diagram of figuring out a person's conflict management style. So here are the styles of conflict management. The first is avoiding. This is to staying away from disagreements. The second is obliging. So this is satisfying the needs of others. Third is compromising, using give and take to achieve a middle of the road resolution. Number 4 is dominating. This is using influence or authority to make decisions. And the last is integrating. So this is the collaborating with others to find solutions.
Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed and have learned something in my topic.